There was a time in our history where books, scrolls, and etchings on stone tablets were what made history into fact. Over time, books have been burned, scrolls buried deep in ash, and tablets crushed. But for what purpose? For evolution, it would seem. Evolution is a cruel fate that condemns the past. However, without it, how are we to advance into the future? Although, evolution has not yet taken some of my personal favourite bookstores in Puneke, Wellington. Locally owned and operated, these stores offer a sanctity for people such as myself. I've spoken with two businesses about their own history and thoughts about the digital era of books, and how it affects them both financially and personally. First, we visited Pegasus Books, a quaint store tucked away on Cuba Street's left bank. The store is wall-to-wall lined with books of all kinds of different genres, a place to bump shoulders with strangers and get lost in thought. Immediately as we entered, the scent of every page flowed through my nostrils. Years of experiences passed through every pair of hands that had ever touched a single book, an experience the digital era cannot hope to recreate. Next we went to Wellington Central's go-to comic book store, Graphic. Unlike Pegasus, Graphic has a vivid pop of colourful comics and manga, filled with hours upon hours of artwork. The sheer amount of time and effort put into a single panel is incomprehensible. A large majority of my own collection has come from Graphic, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Someone's tried to put it in order. Okay. The owner of the store, John Hoskins, he used to have a bookstore in Newtown. I basically had finished a job in conservation, and I was sort of like a pretty handy sort of bloke, had a ute. He needed help with shifting from Newtown to the location in Left Bank, and said, could you help me with the shift? I'd always been a customer of John's, and he said, wow, would you like to help set the shop up? And I said, sure, love to. Yeah, and that's all sort of past history now. And it has evolved, like the shop, Pegasus Books, has been here for 20 years, or 21 years now. And yeah, it's been a pleasure to be a part of it.
I discovered the shop way back in the early 80s when I left school, and was a customer here for about 10 years, and then a job came up, and so I grabbed it, and I've been here ever since. But yeah, basically long-term comic reader and lover, so.
I contend it's actually like a service to the public, based on the fact that we are providing so many alternate views. Like, this isn't the actual almost motto of the store, is step beyond the ordinary. So if you want mainstream, you can get mainstream. But with secondhand books, you're encountered with just the other. You're going to get presented with a different aspect, because it's not filtered, for want of a better word.
I think any community, bookstores and obviously any stores are pretty relevant. Well, they should be. But bookstore-wise, there's not too many left. And for book lovers, it gets people out into the community and shopping. I mean, everyone shops online to a certain degree these days, but it's I think lovers of books and followers of other things too, they like physical shopping, and to browse and to look at things and, you know, discover things new, but also even the things you go in particularly look for. I know I do as a book lover. I just love to go and look, but I like to go and shop. And with our shop, with graphic novels and comics, it's the visual as well. It's the art, and sometimes again you can look online for things, and you can see examples of what this book looks like and what the art looks like, but you don't really get a feel for it necessarily. So we hear all the time of people picking up books and, you know, getting surprised that it's actually, you know, something different to what they thought it was going to be, and, you know, and then talking to the staff as well and discovering other, you know, similar things in a genre that you like. And because all the algorithms and that online don't always cough up, you know, um, extra recommendations for you, sort of thing,
Yeah.
which you might get from a shop, or looking yourself in a shop.
Personally, I don't have a problem with that concept because knowledge and, yeah, it should be open and free to everyone. Well, not free to everyone, but it should be available for everyone. So, and we're in a pretty privileged position in New Zealand to have access to really good literature. We've got incredible writers in New Zealand. We've got to promote the whole concept. So yeah, I have no qualms with that, but it has been proved that you're going to get more out of a literature or the written. You're going to retain more information if you actually read it in like a physical form. Yeah.
It's very hard for us to gauge. It has made a difference over the year, but it's you can never gauge, you can never know how many people were likely to come into your store or buy something from you and then decide not to because of the internet, or any given day. But it has, I guess, made a difference. But it hasn't been a doomsday device that a lot of booksellers have predicted. I know a lot of shops around the world have gone out of business, but there was also predictions that physical books and bookshops would be extinct by now, and that's just not happened. And I don't think it ever will. It's like libraries as well. Like you said earlier, people love the kind of physical aspect of books, and that's gone for 1,000 years. I don't think it's gonna stop now. We've also found that the internet can help sales as well. Obviously, we sell through the internet and that ourselves, but also that people tend to do their own study and look things up and look for things they want, and they get news on releases and things from the internet, which all helps us if they're still going to buy physical media. And then of course as well, the last few years since COVID, shipping has been erratic and expensive, so it's actually not always economically better to order something online from America and then wait for it to come when you can possibly get it down the road. So, and again, we get quite a few people that go out of their way to support locals, so they'll come to us or Unity Books or other good bookshops, and they'll pay $8 or $10 more because they can get it locally, and they can also see the copy they're going to get damaged or anything like that. So, and lots of people read online, and that's a big thing with manga. I think even more than say superhero or non-superhero sort of American mainline sort of stuff. Manga especially is a lot of people read online, but we've seen studies there too, or polls or whatever, where that people will read online to almost like try before you buy, and they might read 5 different books and volumes and of different things, and then pick the series that they'd like to own, and then go and buy that. And if it happens to be something like Junji Ito or One Piece with 100 odd volumes, that's going to be quite a few sales, and that's good. And that's really only doing the same function as public libraries done forever. People will grab something out and they go, "Wow, this is great," but if I want to own it, I'll go to a shop and I'll buy the other volumes. And so the internet's just kind of doing that.
I just think that as long as these places exist, then there's always that hope that those people will encounter this space and then maybe get, I don't know, the inclination to interact with the physical object, basically. And all the science, like I was alluding to before, all the science is saying you're going to retain more information if it's in a physical form. Yeah, your brain's going to hold so much more.
It is a bit hard. We don't have for a time our average customer age, regular buyers were getting older, because they were people sort of my age that were reading from the 80s and 90s and then kept going, especially in that sort of collector market. But in the last 10 or 12 years, it's kind of come back the other way with a couple of younger generations coming in. The manga, like you mentioned, is a huge thing.
All power to the book, really, because you're not going to get that on the internet. There is no sense of the physical. Yeah, it has no history. The internet. It's just ones and zeros, ones and zeros, and the battery may run out. So yeah, so yeah, it's a physical object. It has its own energy. I would hope that the business will continue long into the future. It may just turn into a sort of like an antique blast from the past, just like how records have started being trendy again. They're talking about tapes being trendy again. Maybe with the whole notion of this AI and disinformation, that they will become sought after items because there has been no alteration of these. There's no way you can re-engineer its content or its text. So if you wanted the original source of an idea or a concept, this is going to be the place to go. And so based on that, this will gain more importance and even more relevance in the future. Because basically people won't know what's going on, really. Like, is it real? Is it not real? What is not so much what is truth, but just the whole notion of information. Like, who's supplying the information? Where did that information come from? And unless you've actually got the original source, then you'll never know if what has been fed to you is going to be true or not true. So yeah, on that thought process, it's going to be even more relevant, more important to have the original source material.
Hopefully, it'll stay around for a lot longer too. I mean, we're just over 40 years now, and there's been other times when there's been problems, economic problems, and things in the world, and it's affected us like everybody else. But hoping that it feels kind of really positive recently. Like I say, that there's still kind of a constant interest and a growing interest in a lot of areas that. Unless something drastic happens in technology or something, I can't see it sort of going away. Again, the things with all the other, the Marvel movies and other popular kind of fantasy and, pop culture type of things from Game of Thrones onwards and things, that's built up such an interest and such a normality to it now that it's not that kind of nerd outsider sort of thing it used to be. And it's a kind of an interest, a broad interest that lots of people are into. So we don't really see that it going away, but economically, yeah, with recession and everything, some people might want to come, but they just can't afford to. That's where you can lose custom, and there's not a lot we can kind of do about that, But we're trying.